Today, I'm joined by the third ranked featherweight contender in the entire UK. He is one of my favorite English fighters. And on July 21st, he'll be returning to the Cage Warriors cage at Cage Warriors 157 against Vitor Estevam. He joins me right now. His name is Mr. Harry Hardwick. Mr. Hardwick, always a pleasure, my friend. I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me. Um, Fantastic intro of me. I do appreciate it. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
I certainly appreciate your time. And I did want to ask you just very briefly. I know George is going to be competing on Contender on August 15th. I know you came to the States for a little bit. Did you get an opportunity to test out your American accent when you were over here?
I didn't test it out on anybody. Um, there's this weird thing where some people think doing accents is very offensive. Like when I did the last interview, I said, "Oh, I did an American accent and was being interviewed by an American." My girlfriend was like, "What?" I'm like, "I wouldn't care if he did an English one. Like we were just having a laugh." But I did do a video where I reviewed a flavor of Monster that I thought we couldn't get over here, but we actually could get over here. And I did an American accent and uploaded that, and people thought me and George had lost the plot. So who knows?
I think your American accent's better than mine, just saying. I like it. I think it's good.
Thank you. Is that bit to get me to do? I might just
Uh,
I'll lapse into it at some point.
at some point, I did want to hit up the experience just going over to Vegas, being in the Apex, the Performance Institute. What was that like for you? And how cool was that? Like, because I know you're in Middlesbrough. I know it's a little bit different where you're from, and you may not have access to all of those things that you saw in Las Vegas.
Did his filming was almost like just the best school trip ever. Like we get there, Jeff Nowitzki gives us a lecture about what logos to look out for on supplements and how not to get caught out with that kind of stuff. Then in that room, he gives the lecture in like the kitchen at the Apex where they had like ham and cheese and turkey ham and cheese sandwiches and crisps and all sorts of, oh, sorry, chips and all that stuff available. And there was like free coffee. So it was kind of like school lunchy. Then he took us on a tour of the Apex. We got in the cage, asked about a bit, saw like all the other stuff. George did some photos, did an interview. And then we went to the gym in the Apex where there was a bit of filming, but like between filming, me and George just rolled. And then when George was being filmed and I wasn't needed, I was just shadowboxing and training about. It was great fun. And then got the bus back to the hotel. Just did a little bit of training in the hotel, and then went out, saw the Vegas Strip. Then the next day we went to Syndicate to do some sparring because Davy Grant was there, and he sort of like hooked us up with that. When they did some sparring at Syndicate, and then went over to the UFC PI essentially to have a shower because we didn't have towels with us. And then they've got showers at Syndicate. Was oh, we don't have towels. And then I think Alex Perez was like, well, they got towels at the PI. You can just come to the PI. So we're like, yeah, I'll come to the PI. So we went to the PI, and then Davy Grant gave us a big tour of that. So it was a fun day. It was a fun little trip. We were only in Vegas for 2 days. We probably spent well a day and a half, maybe. We probably spent more time traveling than we did actually there, but it was great fun.
For you, like I think of activity. I think of a person every time there's a Cage Warriors fight. Like I almost like expect to see you fight on it. Like you're that active. You fight three, four times a year more often than not. I know back in March you had an injury setback. You had to withdraw from your fight. And it's crazy for me to think about. Here we are, past mid year, and it'll be the first time you're competing in 2023. That's wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, something somewhat similar happened last year. Last year, I didn't have my first fight until June. But yeah, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating. I just miss it, you know. Like I just want to get in there and I want to fight. It's going to be very familiar surroundings to me. It's a venue I've already fought in. George has already fought in. Hotel I've stayed at before. Show I've fought in before. There's all this familiar stuff. But I just want to get in there and I want to fight. And I do love that it's at the Indigo, at the O2, because the cage is smaller there. And I always think a smaller cage favors me and George. Always easier, smaller cage. It's been strange. I've been at few of the Cage Warriors events this year because like my girlfriend wraps hands on Cage Warriors, so and we're long distance, so we kind of if there's a Cage Warriors that she's working on, I kind of use that as an opportunity to see her. But yeah, it's been frustrating, but I'm feeling good going into this fight. Obviously, the fatigue's hitting a bit now, but that's okay. That's what's meant to happen. Shortening the sessions up a little bit this week, doing just like
Sure.
last night was my last spar, and it was a bit lighter. So we sparred hard on Friday with the boxing gloves on, and last night was a bit lighter with the MMA gloves on. And it's almost at that point sometimes I get when you get up and you're ready to hit hard, and you're ready to I don't know, you're having to pull stuff at your training partners. And in fights, you don't have to have that filter, and it's great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Opponent is an undefeated guy. Estevam 6-0. What's your take on your opponent?
He's like Jose Aldo, but shit.
Okay, so looking at it from that angle for Jose Aldo, then I think a striking right away. Are you comfortable saying that you think he's a decent striker?
He has a very Brazilian style of Muay Thai, but it's not the swarming aggressive Brazilian style. It's the plodding, tries to fight at a slow pace Brazilian style, which Aldo was the don at in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
But Aldo was like super explosive. His combinations would be multi-level. He would have like some really, really crafty things that he would do. And his lateral movement was in like, especially in like short footwork situations, like tight pivots and stuff like that, was really, really good. Estevam doesn't seem particularly explosive. He likes his check hook.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to do a little skip before he throws his right low kick. He kicks the thigh, which, you know, that's pretty old school now. Everyone seems to like kicking the calf, whereas he seems to like kicking the thigh.
Sure.
He likes to do a little, like a lean back left kick. And he holds a very high guard and backs up in straight lines. And then when he feels a little bit overwhelmed, which has happened in these fights where he's been fighting not particularly good people who've just sort of swang weird stuff at him, he's felt overwhelmed and shot in and tried to clinch. Because he doesn't like when the phases of the combination start getting extended. I think the pace that I fight at will just be really uncomfortable to him. I think the feinting and the unpredictability will be something he will not be used to and he'll struggle to deal with. I have to mind his check hook, and I'll respect his power. It doesn't look particularly scary. Like, it's not like when I was watching footage on Pasquale, I was like, damn, that guy is like sniping people with his straight shots really well. That's something to be concerned about. Or like, from what I've been told, you know, because I'd known a few people who fought Steve Aimable, they were like, oh, he's got this really stiff power. It's really weird. And then when I got hit a few times by Aimable, I was like, oh yeah, I understand what they mean by that. Underestimating any element of it. I'm giving it all the respect. I'm just imagining I'm preparing for Jose Aldo, in fairness, because he's better. But he doesn't look like he's got scary power. His defense doesn't particularly look the best. I think he thinks he's a lot better than he is because he's won all the fights he's had. He seems to have been a little bit offended by the fact that when I announced the fight, I extended his head a bit on the poster.
Yeah, but that's on brand for you. You do that for everyone you fight, and you've done it for George's too. I've seen it, and it's funny.
I've done it more. I've actually done it more for George's. I think I haven't done it a whole lot for my. But the thing is, I don't know if it was his sister or something like tagged me in the story and said I was being racist. How is that racist? But then I think Estevam got offended and tagged me in a story which said, I can't wait to show him my mousetrap. And I'm like, I don't think he realizes how sus that sounds in English. Like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that it's his second language and what have you. But I don't think he realizes what he's actually said.
I think you're
And
right.
then I did a TikTok tearing into his bag work because it was crap.
For Estevam, I look at this fight from his eyes. I can understand the appeal, right? Because like you're a contender that means something. Like he gets a win over you, that's a huge deal for him, and that fight makes sense. I understand from his angle why he would want to square off and fight you. For you though, like this is a fight I look at it from you, and it's like I'm trying to understand what it is you gain from it, other than just your 10th professional win, because you're already the top. You're in the top three. I look at like the featherweight landscape for Cage Warriors. I think of Hughes, I think of Vucenic, I think of Harilla, and then I think of you. And so I'm like, okay, well, from Harry's angle, like, what are you gaining from this fight?
Well, the division is in a weird place right now. Paul Hughes is just electing not to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he might be hoping for a UFC offer or trying to do a short notice UFC fight. I don't know. But if he signs if he signs a bout agreement for Cage Warriors, he's locked into that. They're a legally binding contract. So
Right.
if you do that, you can't jump on a short notice UFC fight that pops up. So maybe he's just hoping that a short notice UFC fight pops up. I don't know. I think he's being stupid because fighting's great, and why would you choose not to fight if you could fight? Um, Obviously, Vucenic's just coming off the one win. I train with him sometimes, same manager as me. That fight's probably not going to happen. And then Harilla was offered to me for this fight. So I had said to Ian Dean, I want to be on the July 21st card. I need to fight. I am healthy. I have not fought in ages. I need to fight more than anything. I get the offer, or I get a phone call. He says, Harilla, interim title, July 21st. And I was like, yes. Then, like, that was just before a training session, just before sparring, actually. So just train, train like like I've got a 5 round fight that entire week. And then I'm realizing no battle agreements actually come through. What's going on? So I message Ian Dean, and then he's like, oh, Harilla's injured. His thumb's knackered from sticking it somewhere or whatever. So then I'm just like, right, the most important thing is competition. I need a fight more than anything. And Ian Dean seems to have worked his magic. It's not someone signed to Cage Warriors. It's not. So there's no interim title now, which is a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. 6-0 guy. I think he's. I think well. I think him and the guy fighting Morgan Charrier are training partners, and they're at some UFC gym in Bahrain, and I think they're the only two fighters there. So like, just just having one training partner, one sparring partner is not enough to prepare for me. I'm weird as fuck. Like, and I switch stances and do all this kind of shit. So if his training partner is just some bread and butter, stands orthodox guy, he's fucked.
Yeah.
He's not getting the right looks in, but it's up to him. He does what he wants. But
Well,
yeah, Ian was.
I was just gonna say, Harry, like you win this fight that moves you up to 10-3, and you hit on some key points that I've been thinking in the back of my mind. Like for Hughes, for example, it's like, well, you either have to defend or vacate, or they need to put up an interim title. He's going on. His last fight was, I think, the same card as you were, but of course,
Yeah.
he's electing not to fight. You got hurt, so there's a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah, like George has said it. Like George has defended his belt twice with stoppages since that fight. Since Hughes won the belt. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit ridiculous. I'm not sure if Hughes, because he was talking about wanting to fight for the lightweight title. I'm not sure if he was waiting for George to go.
Yeah.
Well, I think George gets the UFC contract. You might suddenly see Paul Hughes fighting for the lightweight belt in Dublin. I reckon. I reckon if when George go, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't want to fight at Hardwick. I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to smash this guy, and then I really liked being in Vegas. The UFC nepotism helps in the UFC if you've got family there. It helps. I think when George gets his contract, I'm going to hopefully George says that I'm pretty good, and that they should get me on Contender Series too, because that's what I'm going to aim for. I'm going to aim for a Contender Series fight after this one. This will be my first fight where the UFC people will actually be there as well. Like George had two last year, where the UFC was the next day. You know, the UFC in London was the next day. Whenever there's a Cage Warriors, the day before the UFC, there are people from the UFC at those events. There's matchmakers, there's all sorts. And I think because there's been like a lot of decisions in my Cage Warriors run, they've not actually looked at my fights or paid attention to the quality of fights that they are. I think I go out there, I smash fuck out of Estevam and I stop him in front of the UFC people. They're going to be like, oh, okay, this guy's actually pretty entertaining. This, you know, both the Hardwicks are legit. We want the Hardwick brothers in the UFC. Smash fuck out of this guy, make a big noise, get on Contender Series, if I can, and then hopefully both Hardwicks making UFC debuts proper by the end of the year.
Well, I would absolutely love to see it, and I did want to say just one thing about George. I don't really like him on the Contender Series. I thought he should have been a straight signing right away. I don't like the idea of a Cage Warriors champion having to go on the Contender Series. I think, in my opinion, you look at his resume, you look at what he's accomplished. He's arguably the number one pound for pound fighter in all of the UK. That to me, I think that's a straight signing to the UFC. I don't think he should have ever had to have gone on the Contender, but you know that's the world according to Tyler Little and not Sean Shelby, I guess.
Yeah, we were a little bit confused by it as well. There was a bit of like the negative thoughts to have, but then it's pointless thinking that. There's just, I think what they're doing as well is they're getting George in front of an American audience. Do you know like how Paddy's first fight was an event in the UFC Apex?
Right.
Do you know like
Right.
they're exposing George to the American audience. He's got a big following. Like you know, when we were at the UFC Apex after George did his interview, one of the staff from the UFC was like, "I've seen your TikToks," and then I think my cousin's girlfriend is Canadian, and some of her friends know of George. Like he's got a big enough following as it is. I think they've probably saw the potential that they've got there, and I think they want to get George in front of an American audience as soon as possible.
Well, I'm looking forward to his fight in August, and of course, I'm looking forward to your fight here in a couple weeks. Harry, if there's anyone that you would like to thank or any businesses that you would like to talk about before I let you go, let's do that.
Well, first things first, got to thank everyone at Middlesbrough Fight Academy. Um, Anyone can join, anyone can train. Just come along. We're one of the cheapest gyms in the fucking country. £5 a session or £40 for a monthly membership. Got Cage Warriors World Champ Abdul Mohammed coaching, Cage Warriors World Champ George Hardwick coaching, Cage Warriors People's Champ because the champ won't actually fight anybody. Me coaching as well. Peter Irving, my jiu-jitsu coach, and then J-Max Scaffolding. Without the support from Lou McCarthy from J-Max Scaffolding, there would be no Fighting Hardwick Brothers. His support is that massive. It's unbelievable. Then there is the Protein Cafe, our meal prep sponsors. That's getting me on weight. And then we've got Manjaro's restaurant with all of their palmos. They're going to get me back to heavyweight after this fight.
Well, I look forward to seeing the super heavyweight Harry Hardwick making his Cage Warriors debut at 200 and what 85 pounds. Let's see it. Let's go. You can do it.
I think if I ate a palmo every day for a year, I could probably get heavier than that. Palmos are a very calorie dense food, my friend.
I will take your word for it. Harry, I appreciate your time this afternoon. I wish you the best of skill, and I look forward to watching you fight in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much. It's been fun being on. And Manjaro's Palmo bless.